She was just serving food, until the general saw her raven tattoo. The clang of metal trays echoed through forward operating base Kestrel, a windswept installation carved into the rocky edges of Nevada desert. Dust hissed beneath the boots of soldiers moving in and out of the chow hall, each step a reminder of how far from home they were and how close their world sat to shadows no one spoke of. The fluorescent lights in the dining facility buzzed overhead, washing everything in a pale glow. Soldiers joked in lines, fatigue deep in their faces. The coffee pots hissed, the ventilation hummed. And in the far corner, moving with quiet precision, Private First Class Mara Vance wiped a spill from a table. She was small, barely 5'4", with dark hair knotted into a bun, and eyes that held a calm, unreadable depth. To most soldiers, she looked like another FSS, food service specialist, assigned to the middle of nowhere. A background figure in a place filled with heroes, commanders, and decorated veterans. But what no one knew, not yet, was that the background figure had a past that was not supposed to exist, a past buried by hands far above her rank, and that it was about to resurface, like a storm. Mara moved silently, balancing trays, dodging boots, taking orders with a nod. She barely spoke unless necessary. Some soldiers assumed she was shy. Others assumed she was new. Most didn't think about her at all, which was exactly how she wanted it, because in the U.S. Armed Forces, blending in was sometimes safer than being recognized, especially when certain people might not appreciate your survival. At 0600 sharp, the double doors swung open and General Raymond Thorne entered, accompanied by aides, Command Sergeant Major, and a cloud of tension that instantly tightened every spine in the room. Thorne was known, feared, for his uncompromising discipline. Silver hair cropped tight, eyes sharp as cutting glass, shoulders squared in the way of men who've carried battlefields on their backs. Every soldier who saw him instinctively stood straighter. He walked like the ground owed him stability. The chow hall fell quiet. His aide approached Mara. "You? Coffee." She nodded quickly, poured a steaming cup, and stepped toward the general's table. The room watched as she moved, and then, as she leaned forward to set the cup down, her sleeve slipped back, and he saw it. A tattoo inked on her forearm, a symbol most would mistake for art, but one that only a few, very few, would ever recognize. A black raven with outstretched wings, stylized, angled, the exact emblem belonging to a classified reconnaissance unit that officially didn't exist, a unit that had been disbanded 5 years earlier, publicly, violently, wrongly, a unit once under General Thorne's command. He froze. His breath caught. The coffee cup stopped halfway between her hand and the table, and the entire room felt the shift. Thorne's voice came out low. "Private, where did you get that tattoo?" Mara's heartbeat slammed against her ribs. She pulled her sleeve down instantly. "Sir, permission to speak privately if you require an explanation." Her tone was calm. Too calm for a PFC addressing a general. Thorne's eyes narrowed. "Follow me." The room watched as the general rose and walked toward his private conference space off the chow hall. Mara followed, steps measured, breath steady. The door closed behind them, and the war of truths began. Inside, the general paced like a caged storm. "That tattoo," he said, pointing sharply, "is not worn by anyone outside Raven Recon. That unit is gone, buried, classified beyond your clearance, so I'll ask again, where did you get it?" Mara's fingers tightened behind her back. "Sir, I didn't get it. I earned it." Thorne stopped mid-step. "No," he whispered. "Impossible. Every member of Raven Recon is either confirmed dead or—" He froze. His eyes widened as the truth flickered across his face, or presumed dead. Mara said nothing, because silence sometimes speaks for the past louder than words. "Your name," Thorne said slowly, "is not on the list of recovered personnel." "I know, sir." "You were never accounted for." "Yes, sir." "And you didn't come forward in 5 years?" "No, sir." The general slammed his hand on the table. "Why the hell not?" Mara lifted her eyes. They were steady, unshaken. "Because, General, the men who wanted Raven Recon gone? They weren't finished." Thorne's eyes darkened. "Who?" She hesitated. "Sir, do you really want the answer? Because if you do, The truth may put us both in danger. Thorn leaned in. Private Vance, I built that unit. I buried ghosts from it. And every night I regret not being able to save my own people. So yes, I want the damn truth. Mara inhaled deeply, and then she spoke. Raven Recon's last mission was never meant to succeed, sir, she began quietly. We all knew the details didn't add up. Intel was wrong, roots were exposed, and the extraction plan? It was practically an invitation. Thorn's jaw clenched. I tried to fight that up, he murmured, but command insisted. Oversight shut me down. Mara nodded. Because someone wanted the entire unit gone. She swallowed hard. Sir, the ambush wasn't enemy work. It was sabotage. Silence thickened the room. I watched my team fall, she said, voice cracking slightly. Our comms were jammed. Our drone went dark mid-flight. Our backup unit never responded. Thorn closed his eyes. And you survived. I didn't mean to, she whispered. I was wounded, left for dead, but locals found me, pulled me out. I disappeared off the grid until I healed. And then? And then I found out why we were targeted. Thorn's eyes snapped open. What the hell were you carrying that someone wanted you dead for? Mara looked directly at him. A hard drive, sir, full of evidence showing that a senior officer, someone with high-level authority, had been selling classified routes and drone frequencies to foreign buyers. Thorn felt his blood turn cold. Who? She whispered the name. Thorn staggered back. No, he's respected. Untouchable. He's slated for a new command at the Pentagon. Yes, sir. Which is why I hid. If I came forward, I wouldn't make it to the front gate. The general ran a hand across his face. My God, Mara stepped forward. Sir, the evidence still exists. I've kept it hidden, secure, but I can't expose it alone, not without being silenced. Her voice lowered. And when I saw you walk into that Chow hall, I realized you were the only man alive who once fought to protect Raven Recon. The only man I could trust. Thorn stared at her. You came here intentionally. You enlisted again under a new name. You stayed low level to avoid detection. Yes, sir, for 5 years. Yes. He exhaled, long and sharp. Private Vance. If what you say is true, it is true, sir. Then we're sitting on a bomb. Mara nodded. Sir, I need your help to finish what Raven Recon died for. Thorn looked at her, and in that moment, he no longer saw a quiet, forgettable food service soldier. He saw a survivor, a warrior, a raven still flying. The general's boots echoed as he paced. His mind raced through consequences, risks, fallout. The magnitude of exposing an officer with that much power. If he acted, he could end his career. If he did nothing, corruption would spread higher, and Mara Vance, last of Raven Recon, would live her life hunted. He looked at her again. Private Vance, I need to see the drive. Then we need to leave the base, she said. It's not here. Thorn hesitated. Leaving the base unannounced would raise suspicions. A general disappearing with a junior enlisted soldier, cameras watching, logs tracking every movement. Do you trust me? Mara asked. To the ends of the earth, Thorn replied quietly. But this needs to be subtle. Mara cracked a faint, tired smile. Sir, subtle is what kept me alive. He straightened. Then let's move. But fate rarely waits for caution. The general had barely opened the conference room door when his aide stood outside, face pale. Sir, NCIS and military intel just entered the Chow hall. They're asking for Private Vance. Thorn's chest tightened. On whose authority? He demanded. The aide swallowed. Colonel, him, sir. Thorn felt rage slice through him. They're here to silence her, he whispered. Mara met his eyes. Sir, it's happening faster than I expected. The general turned to his aide. Listen to me carefully. You saw nothing. You say nothing. Understood? Yes, sir. The general grabbed Mara's arm firmly. Private! We have 5 minutes before they canvass the area. Mara nodded. Then, that's all the time we need. They moved through the back corridors of the Chow hall, the ones only staff used, past dry storage, freezers, ventilation shafts, out the back exit, then into the shadows behind the building, where the desert wind howled against fences topped with razor wire. Thorn lowered his voice. Where is the drone footage? The files? In a safe house outside base, she said. I kept everything offline, hard drives, physical copies, insurance. A shout echoed behind them. General Thorn, Stop right there! Thorne turned, jaw tightening. Two NCIS agents sprinted toward them. Behind them, in a black SUV, the corrupt colonel stepped out, cold smile slicing across his face. Mara, Thorne whispered. Run. That's an order. No, sir. This isn't up for debate. General, she said, voice steady yet soft. Ravens don't run. The colonel's voice boomed. Take the private into custody. The agents rushed forward. Thorne, decorated, revered, stepped between them and Mara. You lay a hand on her, he growled, and I will bury you in paperwork and congressional hearings for the rest of your career, the colonel sneered. She's a traitor, a deserter, a threat to national security. She's the last of Raven Recon, Thorne snapped, and I know exactly what you did. The colonel's eyes flickered. Rage flared. Take them both, Mara whispered. Sir. Now. They ran. Bullets weren't fired. They didn't dare escalate on base. But shouts, footsteps, and radios blared across the yard. The chase had begun. By the time they reached the outskirts of the training zone, night had fallen. Thorne's truck bounced across dirt roads until they reached an abandoned storage building, half swallowed by sand and desert scrub. Mara slipped inside through a narrow metal door. The general followed, breath heavy. Inside, under layers of dust and tarps, she pulled out a small lockbox. Inside it, a hard drive, 2 flash drives, a file of printed military logs, evidence of betrayal. She handed the hard drive to Thorne. This is everything. Thorne stared at it as if holding the weight of a fallen unit. Your team died protecting this, he murmured. Yes, sir, and now I will protect you. Suddenly, headlights, engines. The colonel's SUVs, Mara's jaw tightened. They tracked us. Thorne closed the lockbox, tucking the drives inside his jacket. Mara, he whispered. Get to the back exit. No, sir. I stay with you. You're the key to exposing him. You must live, and leave you to them. No. Mara! She stepped closer, voice fierce. General, if Raven Recon taught me anything, it's that we never leave an ally behind. Thorne's throat tightened. He had buried too many. Then we end this together. The colonel stepped inside the storage building, flanked by armed agents. He smiled, as predicted. The stray raven returns to her nest. Thorne moved slightly, shielding Mara. Colonel, put down your weapon. You're under investigation. Oh, please, the colonel interrupted. The Oversight Committee's answer to me now. The Pentagon trusts me, and no one is going to take the word of a cook and a disgruntled general. Mara stepped forward. I have every file on your operations, and you won't live long enough to hand them in. Thorne's voice boomed. You will stand down, but the colonel only aimed his gun. At Mara. Goodbye, Private Vance. And that was his mistake, because Thorne moved faster than a man his age should. He slammed into the colonel, deflecting the shot. The bullet tore through metal behind Mara's head. Agents rushed forward. Chaos ignited. Thorne wrestled the colonel, years of anger fueling each strike. Mara disarmed one agent, sweeping his legs, snatching his radio, slamming him into a crate. Another agent grabbed her, but she struck with a precision the general instantly recognized. This wasn't a food service soldier. This wasn't a survivor. This was a raven. The colonel broke free, lunging for his weapon. Mara moved first. A single, precise strike. A sharp twist. The colonel hit the ground, gasping. Thorne grabbed his collar. You tried to murder my soldiers. You sold their lives. And now you'll answer for it, the colonel hissed. You'll never prove it. Mara pulled the lockbox forward. I already have. Hours later, the entire base was swarming with investigators. Real investigators. CID. Federal oversight officers. Senior command flown in overnight. The colonel was arrested. His agents detained. His emails, accounts, and logs exposed. And Mara Vance. She finally told her full story. Thorne stood by her side as she revealed the sabotage, the ambush, the betrayal. When she finished, the room was silent. A general finally spoke. Private Vance, you are a hero, one of the bravest I've ever heard of. She shook her head. No, sir, my team were the heroes. I just finished their mission. Thorne put a hand on her shoulder. And they would be damn proud of you. 2 weeks later, Mara stood at attention in the ceremony hall, a crisp new uniform, a row of officers before her. General Thorne stepped forward. Private First Class Mara Vance, he said, voice steady and strong. You acted with courage beyond measure. You honored your fallen brothers and sisters, and you exposed corruption at the highest levels. He unfolded a small velvet case. Inside, it rested the silver insignia of a staff sergeant. You are hereby promoted, effective immediately. The room applauded, but something else was placed in her hand, a small embroidered patch. A raven. Sir, the unit is gone, she whispered. Thorne nodded. Yes, but its legacy lives in you. Her throat tightened. Thank you, sir. No, he replied softly. Thank your team. You brought them justice. Weeks later, the Chow Hall buzzed again with morning noise, but this time, Mara wasn't serving food. She walked through the room wearing her new rank. Soldiers nodded with respect. Some whispered her name like a legend. Others saluted. General Thorne watched from the far table, a quiet smile crossing his face. She approached him. Coffee, sir? She asked playfully. He chuckled. Only if you promise not to scare me with any more secret tattoos. She smiled, rare and warm. No promises, sir. They shared a quiet moment. Two survivors bound by truth, justice, and the ghosts of a unit that still soared on silent wings. Across the sleeve of her uniform, the raven patch rested proudly, no longer hidden, no longer forgotten. The last raven had finally come home, and this time, she was not alone.